Ogun and Imo All Progressives Congress state executives dissolved. Lawsuits and protests over exclusion of some parties from vice presidential debate. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump orders U.S. troops to leave Syria, upending America's policy in the Middle East. And in sports, Golden Eaglets make seeding for AFCON's Under-17 draw in Dar es Salaam.
This is ANN News.
I am Lucy Adeyemi. The problems racking the APC in Ogun and Imo State has gone a step further as the National Working Committee of the party has dissolved the state executive committees for what it called anti-party activities. It appears the problems are rooted in public statements made by the two governors that they would support their candidates who are running for office in other parties in their respective states. Party National Chairman Adams Oshiomhole is quoted as saying the two governors and their state executives could no longer be trusted. He says the move is to protect the interest of the party. Oshiomhole says a caretaker committee would be set up to take control of party affairs in these two states ahead of the general elections in 2019. Ogun State Party Chairman Darin Adebiyi said the dissolution is a non-issue as the matter was already in litigation. But he called the act, quote, a brazen disregard for the judiciary. Meanwhile, the Social Democratic Party SDP candidate for the House of Representatives, Chief Monday Keme, is asking a Warri Federal High Court to force SDP to submit his name to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. And he also wants the court to restrain INEC from recognizing any other candidate of his party for that constituency. Keme had complained earlier that there was an alleged plot to replace him with Regeniju Daniel, who is currently filling that post on the platform of the People's Democratic Party. Meanwhile, Omoyele Sowore, presidential candidate of the African Action Congress AAC, has sued the Nigerian Election Debate Group, along with Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, its chairman and Channels TV CEO, John Momo, for excluding his running mate, Rabi Rufai, from the vice presidential debate held last week. He said the exclusion was an act of discrimination and malice against the party and its candidates, which he says contravenes a section of the 2010 Electoral Act. Complaints against the Nigerian Election Debate Group were also registered on Wednesday by the presidential candidates of the Accord Party and All Progressives Grand Alliance for excluding their vice presidential candidates from the debate. Vice presidential candidates from only 5 political parties were allowed in the debate. Accord Party presidential candidate Isaac Ositelu said in a statement, all candidates contesting in the general elections should have been allowed to be in the debate. He said disallowing them from participating denied the candidates the opportunity to present their platforms to Nigerians. On its part, the All Progressives Grand Alliance has said in a letter to Debate Group and BON to include its presidential candidate John Gober in the upcoming debate among presidential candidates. It said by virtue of APGA being the third largest party in the country, it should be included in all debates. Many are still mourning the death of Nigeria's former Chief of Defense Staff, retired Air Chief Marshal Alex Bade, who was gunned down by unknown assailants on Tuesday. President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned the killing, describing it as very sad and unfortunate. He has also ordered security agencies to urgently find the killers. Serving and retired military officers have been paying condolences to Bade's family as they express shock at the murder. Also expressing grief were members of the Adamawa Community Association in Abuja, Delta State Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, and former President Goodluck Jonathan, who described the murder as wicked. Bade served in Jonathan's administration as both Chief of Air Staff and Chief of Defense Staff. Professor Ernest Ojukwu, a senior advocate of Nigeria, is asking embattled President of the Nigerian Bar Association, Paul Usoro, to step down. Usoro is on trial for an alleged 1.5 billion naira fraud charged against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. Ojukwu had written to Usoro and past NBA president saying the proper thing for Usoro to do now is to step aside and clear his name. Ojukwu said Usoro's trial may taint the Bar Association, which he said should not be dragged into the case. He said Usoro had claimed in an earlier letter that his travails have roots and that the whole trial was a vendetta mission and that the EFCC had become a tool for fighting personal and political cases. Ojukwu warned that Usoro could railroad the NBA into a fight with EFCC, even though this case is Usoro's personal battle. Figures from the National Bureau of Statistics show that Nigeria's unemployment numbers rose by almost 3.5 million to 21 million in the third quarter of this year. Unemployed females outnumbered males. There were also a large number of job losses in rural areas where unemployment figures increased by 7.5%. At the same time, unemployment figures in major urban areas decreased by 2%. The total number classified as unemployed, meaning they did nothing at all or they worked too few hours to be classified as employed, increased from 17.5 million in the fourth quarter of last year to 21 million in the third quarter of this year. The report also showed that total combined unemployment and underemployed rates increased from 40% in the third quarter of last year to 43% in the third quarter of this year. The Bureau says the country's unemployment rate has been increasing since 2014 economic crisis. The liquefied petroleum gas LPG product marketers are warning against an imminent danger that could arise from the sale of cooking gas at just about every filling station in the country. The Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers charges petrol station owners of a dangerous practice of having add-on cooking gas kits in their stations. The association says this is very dangerous to the lives and properties of Nigerians who patronize these petrol stations. President of the association, Nosa Ogiye Okumbo, said in Lagos the Department of Petroleum Resources and the federal government should take urgent action to outlaw the dangerous practice. He said petrol stations were never approved to house the add-on gas kits. He said they were approved for petrol, diesel, and kerosene. Well, this story will bring smiles to the faces of local government workers in Adamawa State, where Governor Mohammed Jubrila had ordered the state's Ministry for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs to pay the salaries of local government, primary health care, and local education authority staff before Christmas. Commissioner for Local Government and Chieftaincy Affairs, Alhaji Mustafa Aliyu, says the governor's order was in the spirit of Christmas celebrations. Another step that would gladden employees in the local government system is the governor's order for the immediate payment of outstanding salaries inherited by his administration from the previous government to all employees in that sector. Primary health care staff would receive 6 months arrears, local government staff 4 months, and local education authority would receive 1 month arrears. Coming up, African stories. Sudan declared state of emergency in Atbara after protesters set local ruling party headquarters on fire. And later, international news. U.S. President Donald Trump orders U.S. troops to leave Syria. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in stories across the continent. Sudan is experiencing a nationwide protest. Thousands have taken to the streets to demonstrate against economic hardship. Sudanese authorities have declared a state of emergency in the city of Atbara after hundreds of people protested against price increases and set fire to the local headquarters of the ruling party. Governor of the 9 river states says the headquarters of the local government and a fuel station were also set ablaze. Small rallies have broken out in other cities, but the demonstrations were larger in Atbara, historically a hotbed for anti-government protests. The State Security Committee announced a dust to dawn that accompanies the state of emergency. Another cause for widespread demonstrations are severe fuel and bread shortages that have forced long queues at bakeries and petrol stations in the capital and other cities. Both petrol and bread are subsidized by the government. Democratic Republic of Congo's Electoral Commission spokesman Jean-Pierre Kalamba said on Wednesday a postponement of elections scheduled for Sunday is very likely. He said rather than rush the process, the vote would be delayed if the electoral materials were not ready. Last week, more than 2/3 of the voting machines allocated for the capital Kinshasa were destroyed in a suspected arson attack on one of the main Electoral Commission warehouses. An election commission official said both presidential and legislative polls could be delayed. President Joseph Kabila is scheduled to step down after nearly 18 years in power following the elections, which are already 2 years overdue. Local Mali officials say 6 civilians, including 4 women, were killed in the central part of the country on Wednesday when their vehicle drove over a landmine. The road on which they were traveling is regularly the scene of explosions of improvised bombs believed to be laid by jihadists. Last month, 3 Malian soldiers were killed in a similar attack near the central town of Boni. Wednesday's landmine attack left 6 persons injured, as well as 6 dead. Mali has been struggling for stability after Islamist extremists took control of the north in early 2012, prompting a military intervention by France. The extremists were routed in the French operation in 2013, but large stretches of the landlocked African state remain out of government control. Prisoners in Kenya are to help plant nearly 50 million trees as part of a campaign to tackle deforestation. Environment Minister Keriako Tobiko said inmates at 27 prisons would first be preparing seedlings. The Green in Kenya campaign is a joint effort by the Ministry of Environment, the Prison Service, and National Youth Service. Forests cover about 7% of the East African nation, short of the UN's recommended standard of 10%. Kenya has been planting millions of trees in recent years in an effort to reserve the effect of decades of deforestation and climate change. Much of this has been influenced by Kenyan Nobel Prize winner Wangari Maathai, who died in 2011. Through her Green Belt movement, which she founded in 1977. When we return, U.S. President Donald Trump orders U.S. troops to leave Syria, pending American policy in the Middle East. And later, sports. Golden Eaglets miss AFCON Under-17 draw seeding. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby. Find this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward. Wait, stop. You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down, keep walking to the left, yes. You're almost here. Keep going. You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on, so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to events around the world. President Trump has declared victory over the Islamic State group in Syria and has abruptly ordered the withdrawal of U.S. ground troops from the country. The decision runs counter to long-established U.S. policy for Syria and the region. By this, Trump has blindsided U.S. lawmakers, the Pentagon and international allies. Britain and France warned on Thursday the fight against jihadists in Syria has not ended. Trump declared in a short video posted on Twitter, "We've won against ISIS." Withdrawing U.S. troops from Syria at this time could impact that geopolitical region and could cause uncertainty in the fate of U.S.-backed Kurdish fighters who have been tackling Islamic State jihadists, thousands of whom are thought to remain in Syria. At least 2,000 U.S. forces are in Syria, mostly on a train and advised mission to support local forces fighting IS. Lawmakers say Trump's decision could embolden Ankara to attack U.S.-backed Kurdish fighters. In response to President Trump's order, a Kurdish-led U.S.-backed group in Syria has rejected U.S. President Donald Trump's claim that the Islamic State jihadist organization has been defeated. It said the withdrawal of American troops will lead to a resurgence of the extremist group. The group, known as the Syrian Democratic Forces, said in a statement that a premature U.S. troop pullout would have dangerous repercussions and a destabilizing effect on the region. It said on Thursday that the war against Islamic State has not ended and the group has not been it was group first response to Trump's surprise announcement on Wednesday that he will withdraw all American forces from Syria. The decision has rattled Washington's Kurdish allies, who are its most reliable partner in Syria and among the most effective ground forces battling the IS group. The U.S. move is widely seen as an abandonment of a loyal ally, one that could prompt Turkey to launch a fresh offensive against the Kurds or drive the Kurds into a new alliance with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, Iran and Russia. Danish intelligence still ahead. Sports. Golden Eaglet may seeding for AFCON's under-17 draw in Dar es Salaam. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
If you know fit go internet or follow for Twitter, you know fit snap photo send or get it photo send. Now because you dey use Palasa, your phone no dey answer. See me see wahala. My brother, go get smartphone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no go for your hand, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone. Phone wey no fit take selfie. Drop that Palasa phone. No be correct phone, yeah. Drop that Palasa phone.
Upgrade to a smartphone today and get double data for 6 months on any MTN data bundle you buy. Simply purchase a smartphone from any store anywhere in Nigeria or bring your current smartphone from any network. Insert your MTN SIM card to start enjoying your double data bonus. Offer is open to all new and existing MTN subscribers. Join the largest smartphone movement today.
Make it up for your hand. That's Palasa phone.
Welcome back. This is ANN News in Sports. Golden Eaglets of Nigeria have missed out on seedings for the African Under-17 Cup of Nations draw. They were unable to qualify for the last edition of the Continental Prize competition. Tournament host Tanzania shared group seats with Guinea over Nigeria. The Eaglets could not defend the FIFA World title they won in 2015 at Chile. Failing to achieve in the Continental Tournament last year means the Eaglet had dropped in ranking across Africa, so they were not favored by the seeding pot for Thursday's draw. The tournament will take place in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania in April. Semi-finalists will qualify to represent Africa at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Peru later in the year. 15 new names are joining the Niger Tornadoes ahead of the 2018-2019 Nigeria Professional Football League season. The new additions will replace 12 players that were recently released by the club management. Two goalkeepers, Innocent Indem and Umar Ahmed Maijalingo, joined the Mina club from Mighty Jets, while Nduke Chizoba moved from Remo Stars FC. 4 players were also promoted from the youth team to the main team, and 4 have been promoted from the youth system. That is ANN News this evening. For details on these and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Lucy Adeyemi. Thanks for your company.